Well, hi Harmony. Thanks so much for agreeing to chat to us about your journey with doing the daily examen. So I just wanted to start by asking you, would you be able to tell us just a little bit about what the daily examen is and how you came to start using it?
Sure. Well, when I started to use it, I can't even remember. I think my brain's gone into, pandemic fog or something, but I'm guessing it's about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's a way of praying. It's a way of reflecting. And for me, it's been a way of becoming more self-aware and being able to interact with God on a more honest level. And so when I first started doing the examen, I was taking very, very long stretches of time to actually pray and work through it, because it was almost like I was like constipated or something. I had so much stuff that I had never talked to God about, that I had never really processed. And so I just sat and I journaled. And now you can just pray the examen without writing it down, but I found it really helpful to write. So there's 5 steps to the examen. And we have 2 video resources on our website that people can watch to find out more about that. But it's a very simple 5-step process that helps us actually engage with what's going on in the everyday and emotionally, and even leans into hope and gratitude. So I have found it absolutely transformational, and I don't know that I would have survived without it personally.
Oh, so it's made a big impact on you personally.
Massive. Yeah, massive.
Oh, brilliant. So you had the idea then of trying to use the examen with your kids as a family. So tell me a wee bit about that.
Well, because it was so transformational for me, I really wanted to pass that on to my kids. I felt like that would be a gift that I could give them. And yet in the busyness of routines and, it's just so hard to fit another thing in. So lockdown was actually the opportunity then to introduce something into our day, because we were all at home. And so it was a maybe a challenge to get it over the line and to get started and to convince them to give it a go, because they're 10 and 15 and they would rather be on their screens. But I'm so glad that we dove in and just went for it. And I really wanted them to not only know how to pray for others, and that's something that you, Katie, have been great at teaching them from when they are teeny tiny tots. From when they are really small, they learn how to pray for healing. They know how to ask God for help. But I sort of thought at this stage of my kids' journey, I would love for them to learn another way of praying, something different that is maybe a bit more about their own inner world and learning to talk to God about what is going on in their hearts from day to day.
Oh, that's amazing. So what impacts have you seen in your home since introducing it?
Well, the pandemic was full of disappointments for us all, wasn't it? And for me as a parent, I think one of the biggest challenges, and perhaps it will continue to be a challenge depending on how the next few months play out, is the continual disappointment that my kids faced and I faced with them about events that weren't happening, birthday parties and, youth events and all kinds of things. Every day seemed to be filled with multiple disappointments. And so the examen begins with a place of gratitude. And so every day they had to find things in their world, which had shrunk in a crazy way. They had to find things that they had to be grateful for, whether it was the dinner that we had or, their screen time or something. They had to find something to be grateful for. And then the examen ends looking for hope in the next hours or days to come. And so it also, I think it helped us keep a little bit of hope alive in our house, and it wasn't so much about denying the reality of lockdown. because in the middle bits you're processing some of that, but on the kind of the bookends of it, the gratitude and the hopefulness, I really think that was super helpful to them, whether they realize it or not. This is the thing, like they might not ever even see it, or they might be adults before they realize, oh, actually that was really good, Mom. In the moment it was sometimes interesting trying to convince them to get out of bed or whatever, but I really think that's actually the key with formation and some of these spiritual disciplines. If we look for the instant fruit, we're going to be disappointed. If we're prepared to wait and journey for a season, we will see incredible things transpire in our souls and how we relate to God and even to others and how we feel about ourselves. So don't ask me what the fruit is right now. We've taken a little break for the summer, but hopefully we'll it's there if we want to kick back into it. And I definitely see the result of it. And for Elise, she did some journaling like I would have done, and she made a lovely journal, which I showed you, Katie, what that was like. And she made it look all beautiful because she's very artistic. And so it's great to be able to let them have some freedom as well to express it in a way that they would want to. My 15-year-old son was not interested in any sort of journaling or artistic endeavor, but we kind of each did it our own way. And I think that was really cool as well, just to give them a bit of space to be themselves and how they journeyed through it.
Oh, thanks for your honesty. I think for people watching us talking, they could think whenever you're a church leader and it's your job that everything at family and family life is some version of perfect, but actually it's far from it. It's just normal family life.
Absolutely.
Much the same in everybody's home.
Absolutely. Thank you for emphasizing that. That is so true. And if anyone watching this would like to have a further conversation off camera, I could be a little bit more disclosing perhaps, but I think it's really, really important that we as parents realize that family life just is chaotic and messy sometimes, and we can't see the results, and our kids don't even like it. It's like eating vegetables. My kids sometimes hate their vegetables, but I insist that they eat it, and within reason. I don't cook their least favorite vegetables every day, so we took a break with the examen over the summer, and they're getting older and they have a bit more input and say into how things go. But the truth is, we are a very normal family, and our kids would rather be on their screens than doing any sort of prayer, and that is a challenge. It's just not easy.
Yeah, this is it. I think sometimes as well, isn't it just about catching the waves in the moment of what God's doing? And there's so many ordinary days whenever it seems like not much is happening spiritually at all, but then you'll just catch this little moment, and you can kind of just ride the wave of that and see what God's doing and encourage it in your kids just at that moment in time. So yeah, that was really encouraging. Thank you, Harmony. Any other advice to our BCV parents who are thinking of introducing this into their routine?
I would say start with the videos, and the kids video that now exists didn't exist when I first started. So we used the adult version that we have on our website, and it worked fine with my age of kids. But if you have younger kids, you probably want to give the kids version a go, which is brilliant. It is a brilliant resource. So I would just say start there, get your head around what the examen is. Probably as parents, it's helpful if we have a go at it ourselves maybe a couple of times and kind of understand what we're doing and what we're taking them through. And feel free to tweak it, innovate it. So for a while, actually, but when life was too full prior to lockdown, we didn't have time to do this. We did like a high-low at dinner time. And sometimes when there was capacity for it, we also talked about what was a God moment in our life, which is just kind of like a little abbreviated version of it. So, feel free to innovate with this. This isn't about like following some kind of a formula. It's about helping our kids engage with God. So, if you're innovating and you find something that works, also share it with the rest of us so that we can maybe glean something from your insights. And I think a brilliant thing in all of this is doing it in community and staying connected with each other and talking about how it's going. you know, when your kids are absolutely revolting and throwing tantrums and do not want to do anything, you know, we need to have a friend that we can call or text and say, hey, it's really not going well, and just support each other through this, because it really isn't easy. So I think if you're doing any sort of prayer at all, or even trying, you're doing great. You're doing so well, and it's so much harder than it looks. I don't know about you, but I sort of grew up, you know, maybe when my kids were really little, I had this sort of idealistic version of what raising them in a Christian home would be like. And it never even looks anything close to that ever. You know, but that is just the reality. And, you know, for that reason, especially, we need community to cheer each other on and say, you know, keep going. And I guess that's really what I want to say. Don't give up, don't stop, keep going, even if it's hard. Improvise, tweak it, change it, do something different. You know, as long as your kids are connecting with God and you're connecting with God, that's the point. It's not about any particular formula or ticking any boxes in any way.
Yeah, it's just as well, the thing that's coming across to me there as well, Harmony, is that since you were doing the examen for quite a while before you introduced it, probably your kids had a wee glimpse into your spiritual life anyway. You know, it wouldn't have been the first time they would have heard of the examen, and I think that's so important, just to do our own spiritual life, but let our kids have those little glimpses in, and then they're going to grow up just knowing, here, my mum really valued that thing. I must think about that again, you know, I must give that a go. So even if they drop it for a while, they'll grow up with that understanding of what it is, and they will revisit it. It's like what you said about the fruit showing, maybe it might show up later as well, but it's just that foundation and just that insight into different ways that they can approach God, that they just seen happening in their home in a kind of everyday, ordinary sort of way. It's really important. So yeah, if you guys watching want to check out these resources, if you just go on our website, our BCV website, there's a brilliant resources section, and you'll find all the videos there. Have a watch, and we would love to hear from any of you guys that are giving this a go. So if you try this at home with your kids and you have any stories, would you drop us a wee email or phone us? We would just love to hear and be encouraged by you as well. So thanks for listening, and looking forward to hearing from you all.